While speaking in defense of annotation and repetitive study, an old school teacher once told me that the greatest show of love to a book is to beat it to a pulp. I always saw annotation as butchering, discoloring, and marking the pages with characteristics akin to a face's acne. The imperfections were disgusting to me, like dog ears in a used book. I failed to see the charms of these impressions, but now I see them in a different light. I distinctly recall a Bible a coworker had, one terribly old, beat up, falling apart at the seams, decorated in pencil graphite and yellow highlighter, with sticky notes protruding throughout the heavy book's many pages. Wrapped in an aging, decrepit leather, in every sense of the word, the old Bible was abused and elderly, nearing the end of its lifespan, but it also displayed a history of attentiveness, of obvious care in keeping it near, practiced, and together despite the wear. That lady's Bible is the greatest example of a well-loved book I've ever seen, more so than any ancient and preserved first copy or historical original, or any fresh print or reprint. That worn and persistently present book is my idea of a well-loved piece of art. C.S. Lewis puts it best. It is unliterary to read something only once. There is a joy to discovering a story's surprises, to revel in its twist, but to return to something is to enjoy it like poetry. Because at first, we are only entertained by the curiosity and the entertainment of the surprise. But afterwards, upon reading it again, we are free from the shock of the surprise and can enjoy the details of it. I've been reading a lot recently. Evident from my lack of online presence, I've been spending my time differently, investing more into relationships, work, and paying due respect to the art in my life. Between Italo Calvino, C.S. Lewis, and my own friends, I've had plenty of literal or anecdotal conversations about the nature of consumption. The truth is, I don't engage properly with any art form, and tend to float on the side of consumers and fall into the pitfalls associated with review culture. My personal habit is to set a reasonable goalpost, usually to save time and stress, and tackle it head on and call it quits. I imagine there's a lot of folks out there that do the same. They turn the last page, hit max level, or roll credits and call it quits before they ever get close to bonding with the work. Judging the experience within predetermined social or personal bounds isn't productive or respectful. It tends to detract from one's overall experience. Even in video games with multiple endings, I tend to aim for one or grab the first real ending and stick to it. Tactics Ogre taught me the value of how a bad ending can better express the story's tragedy, or how One Shot showed me that not all true endings are better than their supposed lesser counterparts. And because of that, I've developed a flexible interpretation of completion. Seeing a movie once, playing a game to max level, as fully completing any MMO is insanity, or simply reading a book cover to cover and calling it quits. This practice opens the door to poorly setting goalposts, intentionally failing to see everything that might be valuable, and is an exercise of saving time and sacrificing mutual respect between author and audience. Most likely built and established by mass media and marketing long before I severed that trust, that art would value the audience's time. For example, take the 7th generation of consoles and their games. Pressured by amateur reviewers at the time, using time as a metric for quality and imposing an expectation of quantity over quality onto AAA studios, and the boards that rule them. This era led to games with hundreds of hours of game time and excessive padding to reach the improbable standards of its era. I'm even guilty of using that measurement, especially when I was younger and time was cheaper than cash, or when I was still a babe penciling my thoughts about the young medium. Yet that's no excuse. It's the mindset that created such an era as the 7th generation, whose repercussions still bleed into modern releases today. Again, it's no excuse, as I have the paper but not the time, and am now the perfect audience for the quality over quantity experience. For example, the impeccable Unsighted, a dozen hours or less, encourages mastery and replayability, and exploration of what has already been seen, is a perfect example of a quality title today standing against the foolishly imposed trends of the past. But I still haven't gone back to play it again. Not its other game modes, nor a timerless run, or even another run to vie for a better time. I haven't gone back because I've busied myself with other experiences, gambling that they might be better, or that I'm missing out. I'm a hurried spirit whose obsession with the modern FOMO has caused him to love less, not more. I'm grateful that I have and have seen so much art in my lifetime, but the disrespect of witnessing it only once, like seeing a stranger and enjoying a pleasant conversation only once, refusing to meet again, that disrespect has poisoned me. It's that kind of FOMO that perverts the audience into consumers, into those who are obsessed with the new, the popular, and the endless library that promises to provide eternal surprises, full of shocking revelations that may keep their minds away from reality forevermore. It is an absent audience that seeks distractions and surprises, while purposeful leisure makes a good audience, those that are intentional, patient, and interested. Failing to nurture intimacy in art, like in relationships, results in devaluing people. With relationships, frivolousness denotes a lack of respect. It doesn't challenge people to maintain friendships, or actively pushes them away in the first place. While arguably less serious, in art, it depreciates the intrinsic value of the piece and its relationship between itself and both its creator and its audience. Presumably, this means failing to engage means diminishing one's own experience with something. The individual then has full autonomy on the potential of having or lacking an emotional or formative experience, while also wielding the power to insult both the art and artist. So it is both disrespectful and harmful to fail to engage with any media that asks for it. However, it's also important to recognize that it's unavoidable, or at least extremely difficult, to consistently offer engagement to everything. Everyone has colleagues, associates, brain rot TV, a simple social hour video game, whatever. But it's important to also recognize moderation and distinguish the difference between a few hours of sloth and productive leisure with the arts. If something offers a level of quality that allows for new perspectives, emotional revelations, or simply demands further thought, then it might justify extra effort to fully realize. It's subjective and demands the audience to always be looking to engage, to at least attempt intimacy with art. I say that as someone whose habit is to fail to engage. I spent my school days rushing through literature, hurriedly analyzing it, and worse, analyzing it to a given standard and premeditated meaning, before tossing it aside for another, all for an easy grade score. I assume, because I was born in an era with a library greater than Alexandria's, that there is a deep fear that I will not read every book worth reading, that I might miss out on one that would change my life. It is ironic that should I spend more time in each book, that I might divulge more meaning and savor more at leisure, and with more respect to the author than I ever did in haste. On one hand, it is a learned thing taught by schools and content creation culture. We are pressed to consume, print out an essay for entertainment or a test score, and swiftly move on. But I have also held this habit since long before academic and YouTube environmental pressures. I was always the type to escape into fiction, rushing through book to book, filling my mind with fantastic and terrible worlds, avoiding the dull reality around me for as long as I could manage. I was obsessed with discovering and holding on to new surprises. As a reviewer, I recognize even if I were to make a Joseph Anderson level reflection, a full 8 hours of discussion, my audience would still walk away with questions and mysteries to mull over in whatever was covered. No review is anything more than an impression, the sum of an experience, not ever a sum of the piece. Yet reviews and the like can be successful without being intimate with the work. However, I also recognize that despite success, any review that doesn't even try to achieve intimacy disrespects the author and art and robs the critics themselves as well as their audience. Even I, without any monetary pressure and admittedly a teeny audience, feel the pressure of hurriedly rushing out reviews to maintain impressions and a sense of fragile growth. So I'm not calling anyone out. I'm merely reminding myself and my peers of the dangers of such habits. A quick review regularly is admittedly offset by an intimate one every once in a while, and praiseworthy are those who attempt intimacy in their every work. It's difficult because the natural and incentivized habit of the space is to aim for quick comprehension and completion and forego all intimacy. It's why the topic resonates with me so profoundly, because I have failed to engage with art for most of my life, and still fail today. I have shows and videos that are purely background noise. I enjoy a few games casually after work, and there's a fictional book here and there that I read purely to pass the time and fill empty car rides with something other than music. Although it is disrespectful and harmful, it is also in our nature to not always be attentive. The great secret to it all is that we have limited attention on offer, and can only engage with a subset of all art we consume. However, so long as we try to engage with what we believe might be worthy of it, we are ultimately making a difference and respecting some art instead of none. A perfect species may respect all art, but I believe we are not a perfect species, and I'm content enjoying some media passively and others actively. Because throughout my life, I have discovered art that has helped me grow as a person. All art, even the conceptual and abstract, is derivative of creation, molded by human hands and delivered to other humans. It is a method for communication capable of grasping and sharing thoughts and emotions across time and space. Like mentors around me, art closes the divide of distance and age and allows counseling and knowledge to be shared without restriction, through morals of the story, ludography, and whatever else the artists of their era can muster. It's hard to explain, but certain games, books, and songs have contributed to my life in meaningful and purposeful ways. They are examples of how intimacy with art is vital to the human experience. Signalis and the manga Oyasumi Punpun, in a time of need, conveyed the depths of desolation, possibly depression, amidst grief, in a fashion that made it feel relatable to my own grief, so that I didn't feel truly alone in my suffering. It made me realize that this is something others feel too, and that if they can overcome it or simply live with it, then so could I. These two dreary pieces of art were nothing new. That feeling was not new, but it was incredibly impactful for me. And Tactics Ogre and The Last Story, though I'm still parsing my thoughts with them, both also games themselves, teach and have helped me work through my thoughts about war and dreams not worth pursuing. Where childhood aspirations are found uncanny in the real world, and everything I ever desired to be or be a part of is nothing like I imagined. Or how a simple song, like Jimmy Eat Worlds, The Middle, though I don't know why, clears my head and makes me calm in the face of my own personal battle with angst. Maybe less so now, but in high school, it was a comforting anthem that stilled my mind. Or my recent read of Italo Calvino's Written and Unwritten World, which has forever changed my perspective and style of both art and writing. It's made me content to be an essayist, and has challenged me to make my first book, although a lofty dream right now, non-fiction, instead of fiction, because essays are what I know and love most. So whatever art and I achieve, whatever comes of it all that matters is I desire a level of engagement so that I may better see the world, myself, and others through its majesty, and be made better for it. That's the value of not just consuming art, but truly appreciating it. Recently, I've been going through C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity and annotating it slowly as I go. In my annotations, I found myself conversing with the old thinker, summarizing, yes, but also agreeing and disagreeing with his points, and having a metaphysical talk with the man from the last century, long past from our world. It was something I didn't imagine I could have experienced, that surreal feeling of talking to a man long deceased through paper, a conversation like letters across time to a man long dead. Except the feeling did occur and arise from careful and attentive annotation. It's a present effort to develop intimacy with this work, to pay its departed speaker and writer respects, and to appreciate the work itself as my introduction into apologetics proper. Plus, I've been playing Unicorn Overlord since its release and still haven't finished it. Partly because time is more fickle than a fairy right now, but also because I'm going through it slowly and carefully. I'm trying to see everything the game has to offer, all the side, optional, and extra content available. I'm trying to fully immerse myself in its fiction and its systems. I'm aiming for mastery and comprehension, and ultimately planning to follow it up with a detailed essay, because I love it. I don't think I'm going to give this attention and detail to all work, prior or forward in my life, but I'd like to make a change to at least give more respect and effort to that which captures my eye. While it's impossible to engage deeply with everything, dedicating time to truly appreciate art can enrich our lives and honor the artist's efforts. The simple truth is, I cannot read every book in the existing library of man. In the modern-day Library of Alexandria, that is the internet, there is simply too much to see in a lifetime, and I have no desire to live forever and see it all. So if I cannot complete the super book of man, a book only God may know and read, of all the works ever made, recorded in one history of our existence, then why try? Instead, I'd like to aim for quality reads, listens, plays, and watches over anything else. I want to make time to review art beyond completion, to regularly think about them, and to introspect and document my experiences better with them. I want to engage with art. I'm trying to do better. Thank you. That was awful. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since I've done that. 20 minutes of me yapping. Yap. Kind of okay with that, though.